Hello traders and welcome back to another market update. My name is Nick, and in today's video, as per usual, we're going to take a look at the currency market and see what's going on, as well as some potential trade setups and just general technical analysis. Let's go ahead and jump into it, starting with Euro USD. We have a really interesting setup here. You can see we're looking at the 4-hour chart, and if I scroll over just a little bit here, what you can see is that price has been nicely channeling to the upside. We see price making a series of higher highs and higher lows, but currently we have an interesting scenario with euro dollar. You can see price is currently halted right around the tops here. And what this really signs for buyers and sellers is that right now we have some indecision. Now, if we see a breakout of this, trend, if we see a continuation here and price breaks to the upside, then this may be the start of a nice breakout to the upside to continue this Euro USD push that we have seen. On the contrary, if price can't break through this level, then there's no, at least in my opinion, there's not a huge convincing buy reason, as price could come back down to this trend line and maybe even break through. Depending on what happens, there might be some trade opportunities either direction. Right, so if we start to see a break of this structure to the upside, there might be some buy opportunities, and same thing on the sell side, there may be some breakdown opportunities there. But for the time being, waiting to see what Euro USD in order to make any sort of further decisions. Let's take a look at pound dollar here. Pound dollar rolling over there from the highs. You can see we did put in a high here. If we look at the daily chart, we have this kind of high that came into the market. Price tried to come up to that point and has not seen any sort of continuation or breakthrough of that level yet. Watching this level for either, again, another two scenarios. You have these pullback concepts that we've talked about on recent market updates, where we talked about the fact that we could see a price roll over back to one of these major fib levels, right? You could see the 38.2, you could see the 50%, but I really like the 61.8 because it lines up nicely with this level over here, right? So that kind of gives us a potential idea if price decides to roll over further. But for the time being, it looks like your GBP USD is kind of halted around the highs. If we do indeed decide to break higher, then there might be some opportunities to look for trend continuation. But for the time being, still seeing a bearish rejection of this area. For the time being, we could see price start to roll over and look for potential buying opportunities or short-term sells in favor of that downward pullback. Again, trade what you decide is best and what you think you see. For the most part here on dollar yen, we see price still ranging. We don't see any sort of strong continuation either way. I will say that on the 4-hour chart, if we go back to the 4-hour chart, we had a nice little trend that was making its way along the way here, right? We had this kind of uptrend that was going on, but price did last week break through that level, and we found some serious sellers step into this market. So for the most part, when we're looking at this particular case on dollar yen, you know, there might be some opportunities to trade a retest here if you are a bear, if you see that there's potential bearishness. This level here is currently being tested, right? What was a previous level support is now going to be tested to see if price can hold as a resistance point. If so, then that would put in a lower high, and we could see this market start to roll over and continue to the sell side. On the contrary, though, if price can come back up, if it can break through that level, then that's a pretty bullish indication that this trend is not over and that maybe we had just entered a sideways consolidation zone here, right? So something to think about that on dollar yen. My first inclination is that dollar yen may get some sort of pullback here, right, in favor of holding this previously broken level. Just my opinion there. Let's take a look at Brent crude here, which does continue to trend up nicely. You can see this level that we pointed out last week held beautifully. We had this kind of upward trend continuation, and for the most part, just seeing a basic channel here, keeping things very simple. We are up at the upper bounds out of this channel, which is going to be pretty important to pay attention to. We may see some sort of pullback here as price is looking a bit stretched on the top side here, as we have seen in the past, sellers stepping in and pushing price back down. Let's go ahead and move on to WTI crude, which is going to look very similar. You can see just a very minor difference, but for the most part, we have this same kind of channel structure here on WTI crude as well. Let's take a look at gold here next. We have this ranging market that continues to play out on the 4-hour chart. You can see if we put in this trend line there and we put in a lower line here, you can see that price has been holding this lower level as a supportive zone very nicely. And then on the top, we've had sellers holding this zone as well. This information gives us the potential to look for sell side opportunities. If this market wants to continue to range, then this might be a beautiful trade setup. You could put in some sort of stop above the highs. You could sell into this market if you find a reason to. And then, of course, you could target some sort of structure down here. You also have this structure here. Right, so both of which are potential ideas to look for. Let's go ahead and move on to USD CAD, and you can see here dollar Canadian did find some rejection off of this level. You can see price chopped around. We came up into that area, found some sort of sellers, but we've quickly recuperated that with dollar strength here going into this week. So going to be watching to see if this level can hold. For the time being, you know, this level here, still an interesting level to see if price can hold as a sell zone in favor of that recent resistance or that recent support that could turn resistance, right? So that's kind of what we're watching there on dollar CAD. Let's take a look at pound yen here. Pound yen on the 4-hour chart looking interesting because we do have this kind of dominant movement to the upside, but you can see right here, we kind of have this wedging formation. We have this this kind of falling wedge in favor of potentially this upward dominant market, right? So we have a market that's made a blast off the side. We kind of have, you could, depending on how you want to look at it, we also have like a flag looking pattern, right? So we have what looks to be essentially a impulse to the top, a corrective move, right? And so the idea here is that if price decides to break higher, we could see some continuation on pound yen in favor of the overall dominant energy that we see currently in the market. Let's take a look at euro pound. Euro pound, not too much to say here, but I did want to point out that we do have a very ranging and choppy market, and that if you're a breakout trader, there might be some opportunities to look out for on euro pound, either up or down. What I mean by this is that if price decides to break to the upside, there might be some pullback opportunities to ride that movement. And if you're a seller, if we see a breakthrough of this level, you could look for some opportunities to sell the break. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you got something out of today's video. We'll catch you next time.